episode of our Coaching Corner here on YouTube, and this week's Coaching Corner is coming to you via my vehicle. Maybe we'll have the car chronicles as something that we lean into, because guess what? I'm in a season of my life where we've got to figure it out. We've got to make it work. We've got to make things work in the pockets of time that we have available to us. And I am your coach, so I am committed to being here for you to have these conversations. And sometimes that means it's not going to be in a pretty office, in a cute kind of environment. Sometimes we have to make it work and deliver what we've committed to delivering, regardless of what it looks like in the moment. And that is a key component to today's conversation. Today's conversation is really kind of feeding off of what we talked about last week, which was that your ambition did not go anywhere. There are specific things that are happening in your brain, and we're going to talk about that. Why you've been struggling so much to feel as if you still have the motivation, the drive, the wherewithal to want the things you wanted for your career for so long. And it feels like that you've lost that a little bit. We're going to dive a little bit deeper in. And part of me talking about making it work and finding a way to do things regardless of the obstacles or the potential setbacks is that when you have a vision for the future that you're building, regardless of what shows up, you will figure out how to navigate it. But when you don't have a vision for your future, why would you go through the work to do that? And that's a question, that's a real question, because what's really happening in your brain is a cost versus benefit analysis. Your brain, and this is something that I didn't understand for a long time, but your brain is designed to conserve energy. It's literally designed to do things using as little energy as possible. It's the reason why you can drive home from work, you pull into your driveway and you don't even remember the journey you just did, because your brain switched you onto autopilot. It knew the series of turns and lane changes and whatever that you make on that journey, because it does it over and over and over again. So it conserves that pathway, it creates that pathway into a rote response that it can pull on, so that it uses little energy to deliver on that task. And so the thing that I want you to understand is that your motivation hasn't dipped because, or your lack of ambition, or your ambition hasn't gone away because motivation has dipped. Your brain has literally done a cost-benefit analysis and has decided, one, she's not really like sold on the future that she's building. So we're not going to show up to do what is necessary to build that future. We're going to call it a lack of motivation. We're going to call it a lack of focus. We're going to call it a lack of willpower. We're going to call it whatever excuse, whatever justification you want to call it. That's what we're going to say is going on, because I don't see the benefit of giving the effort that is going to be necessary to produce the result that she wants, because I don't think she really wants the result, and I'm not really clear about what it is that we're doing it for. That's one thing that's happening. This is a legit system of processes and decisions that your brain makes. This is not hyperbole, this is what is happening. So it's either that, or there's a motivational dip. And like I said, I always keep my notes right here so that I stay on task. But there's neuroscience involved in that motivation drop, that we need to get clear about the distinction between the system is failing me and I am failing. Because what's really happening is, from a biological standpoint, remember we talked about the brain biologically wants to use as little energy as possible, right? When your effort is consistently unrewarded, it's not that your brain is malfunctioning, it's glitching, it's deciding on something that is not really what you want. What your brain is doing is down-regulating your motivation in response to that lack of reward. There's an understanding, there's a mechanism in place that the work associated with achieving the result that you want is not going to result in you getting the result that you want. And so what's even the point? Can you see that? Biologically, this is what is going on. So when you say that your ambition is gone, and this is something that we're hearing a lot in the literature right now, like it's something that came out of the McKinsey data, it's something that I saw Bloomberg reporting on this week. I'm just referring to some of my notes and where I've gotten this from. Bloomberg wrote a piece last week about how corporate America is giving up on women, right? Because they found that there was a drop in women wanting to go for promotion, etc., etc. But there's so much more that was actually at the root of that article and that piece, which is what I'm wanting us to draw attention to. Because when women are supported, and this is again coming out of the literature and coming out of research, when women are supported at the same levels and at the same rates that men are supported in the at an organizational level, then their desire for promotion doesn't change. There's no shift, there's no change in it. And so it's not that women are losing their ambition, it's that they are seeing that there is a gap between what they're desiring and what is actually being fulfilled at a systemic level, that their brain is kind of running that calculation and saying, what is even the point? The mechanism, the motivation, if you want, or the mechanism for being able to do a good job and being able to put our best foot forward and continue to drive forward with the ambition that we have, that gets your brain pulls the plug on that as the first step to working with the way things are going, instead of constantly being the thing that's driving against the way things are going. I hope I'm making sense, because the thing that I really want you to get is that it's not that your brain is broken or there's some kind of glitch in the matrix or you're doing something wrong. Is that your effort has been consistently unrewarded, and so your brain is responding to that by down regulating your motivation in order to match the outcome that it can already perceive. Is that clear? So I want you to consider that for yourself, to one, truly understand what's happening biologically, and then think to yourself, okay, perhaps this is telling me that it's not me that's failing, the system is failing me. Because the women that I see being able to move through this, being able to push through the exhaustion, but not from that standpoint, not with the intention of pushing through the exhaustion, but the women who are really able to navigate this, to be able to maintain their ambition, to be able to then go and live and create and build the lives that they want, they're the ones who are able to tell the difference between this being a system problem and it being an identity problem, right? They're not sitting there saying, I'm failing, I suck, clearly this isn't for me. They're able to identify that this is a system failure, the system is failing me, and because they're able to identify that, they're able to see that those are two very different conversations that require two very different responses. If it was an identity problem, like I'm failing, I suck, then yeah, we can have a conversation about maybe we need to address your ambition, maybe we need to downstep your ambition, maybe the corporate ladder or what that entrepreneurial dream or whatever just isn't for you. If you're not willing to do the hard work, maybe it's not just for you. Then we can have that conversation. But if we can identify that it's actually a system breakdown, then it's not about you kind of being more realistic. I hate that phrase. Maybe that's not the conversation we need to be having. Now it's much more about, where is the system failing me? How can I set myself up for success? Who do I need to have a conversation with? What do I need to put into action? What do I need to be putting into place to be able to protect the ambition that I have, the career aspirations that I long for, so that I can be making progress in the direction that I desperately want to make. 2 different conversations, 2 different responses, 2 different outcomes, right? So that was like the biological frame of this conversation, right? I really want you to understand also the cost that is involved with that ambition gap narrative, because there is something very, very damaging about it. If we continue to believe the literature, whether it's these Bloomberg journalistic pieces, these Bloomberg pieces of journalism, or whether it's the headlines that come out of the McKinsey data, or wherever it is that you're getting this, believing the narrative that this is a character flaw of women is incredibly damaging. Because then all that happens is that we spend years, a disproportionately long amount of time, trying to fix the wrong thing. Because now it's more about how much more personal development can I do? What more do I need to be doing in terms of being able to up-level my ambition? How many more vision boards do I need to write? How many more goals do I need to set? Who do I need to have as my mentor? What growth seminars do I need to go on? What skill set do I need to develop? How many more qualifications do I need to get? And I know that you can see yourself in all of those things. How many times have you said to yourself, when I get this qualification, when I am more skilled, when I sit in on that webinar, when I enroll in that class, when I hire that coach, when I go to that development course, when I do X, Y, and Z, then I'll be. How many times have you said that to yourself? And has it actually ever worked? Probably not. Otherwise you wouldn't be listening to this, right? So we spend years trying to fix the wrong thing simply because we're believing the narrative that is pointing to this as a character flaw. Biological self-protection is not a character flaw. And when I say biological self-protection, what I'm talking about is your brain's response to down-regulate your motivation and enthusiasm to protect against a reward that you're never going to get, or it perceives that you're never going to get, based on our current data, based on exactly what we perceive to be happening in this body, in this era, in this work environment at this time. Your efforts are never going to be rewarded in the way you continue to work towards. And so I'm going to pump the brakes on your ambition. I'm going to pump the brakes on your motivation. I'm going to make you not feel like it as biological self-protection. That's not a character flaw. It's exactly what it sounds like. Self-protection, right? So the thing that's damaging about continuing to believe the ambition gap narrative, like I said, is that we spend all this time, all this effort, all this money trying to fix the wrong thing. The thing that really needs categorizing and naming is that it's the system that is not geared up for us to win. Listen, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not somebody who plays much stock or puts much stock in blaming any other human or any other system or any other entity for my life. I'm not a fan of that. I don't teach that. If you've been here for a second, you know that radical self-ownership is something that I'm all about, right? But there's no denying that female progress in the workplace is something that is hindered, especially at the two dramatic ends of the scale. Either at entry level, and again, this is data, you can go and look this up, at an entry level point in an organization, there are less opportunities for women to have mentorship, to receive growth opportunities, even feedback opportunities at the entry level. And then at an executive level, the highest levels of an organization, C-suite and above, that's what we see happening there too. There's less mentorship opportunities, there's less growth opportunities, less growth conversations that are happening there. So in these very formative periods of a woman's career, there are less opportunities for her to grow, expand, scale, and up-level her ambition than her male counterparts. This is not hyperbole, this is what is happening. And so how dare us try and name the ambition gap narrative just as something that is a character flaw in women. They just don't want it anymore. We went through a whole period during the pandemic and everything that we had to navigate as a society during that period of our lives, where there was big push for change. There was a big push for diversity and inclusion. There was a big push for doing things right and equality. The Me Too era, all of that, like all of these progress points that we've had for women, and now we're at danger of saying all of that was for no reason because women just don't want it. I don't think that that's a smart use of our time. I think it's a highly dangerous use of our time to start to label that ambition gap as a character flaw, because that just isn't the case. We are not failing, ladies. The system is failing us. And so when we come at it from that standpoint, I want to ask you this very important question. What will you do differently now? Knowing that that is the case, that you're not crazy, all those things that you've been thinking and the questions you've been asking yourself and the going round and round in circles in your mind, you're not crazy. I'm validating all of that for you. The data is validating all of that for you. But what do you choose to do now? Because even if the system gets better, if we're not in the right frame of mind and action to take advantage of the changes that come, nothing will change in our own personal experience. Is that fair to say? So again, I asked you the question because remember what I said, the women that I see being able to move through all of this, not by pushing through the exhaustion, but by seeing and understanding that this is not an identity problem, it's a system problem. They're the ones who ask themselves some better questions, who then arm themselves with the ability to take better, more decisive, productive action. So that's the question again I ask of you. What will you do now? With this knowledge, what will you do now? This conversation is very dear to my heart because as a woman who's had to navigate a lot of things not being set up for me to win, not only from a socioeconomic standpoint, coming from nothing, single parent household, living off government benefits, I did not see abundance or possibility or having growth conversation, having ambition as something that was available to me. Coming at it from a ethnic standpoint, like I was one of the only brown families in a very white affluent town. That's what I saw growing up. I was very other in my environments. I didn't fit. I didn't see women who were successful, that looked like me, that sounded like me, that came from where I came from. And so I understand the system being stacked against you. I do. I understand that. The thing that we have to be very careful about is allowing that to be the whole story. Your story is yours. You get to write the ending of it, right? We understand this. Yes, you can't go back and change any of the parts up until now, but you can start writing something different now that will culminate in a different chapter tomorrow, a different section of the book next year, and ultimately a different ending years from now. You get to do that, but that can only happen with intentional change. So again, I asked you that question, what will you do now with the knowledge that you're not crazy, that it is true, that as much as that sucks, that is a reality, but we get to decide how we're going to navigate it. I hope this served you. I really hope it did. And while we didn't reach a conclusion in terms of this is the way that we're going to fix this, I hope it gave you some clarity around the fact that you're not crazy and this isn't something that you're imagining, that your ambition didn't go away. There was something neurological happening that we needed to name, right? And now that we've named it, now that we've got clear on it, we can make some different decisions moving forward. I really hope that that's what you've gotten out of this session. Share this with somebody if you think they would get something out of it too. Leave me a comment below. If you don't agree with anything that I've shared, feel free to tell me that. If you're all about it, feel free to give this video a thumbs up. Maybe consider subscribing to the channel. I would love that. Tell me what your thoughts are. Tell me what your biggest takeaways are. Let's be in conversation, because I've said this before and I'll say it again because I believe this to be true more than I can express. Women will change this world. But we can only do that if we are no longer operating under the false belief that we are limited by the current state of the world. I love you. I mean that. Take care.